Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is not. It's a different name. It's Tom Ryman.
Yeah. And we just watched Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Nope. No, let's keep going. Let's just move on.
Moving on.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Leave that where it fell.
I don't know. We had some options. We had that Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw, which I'll just do my We Just Watched for that right now. It's a real piece of shit, but there is a lot of chainsaw massacring, so take that or leave that.
Yeah. So far, I've left it.
Mm-hmm.
I have not watched it. We could have done Nightmare Alley, but
that's true. Yeah, I do. I do plan on watching that, but it's one of those things where it's kind of just like snuck onto streaming, right? Like it's
like literally like
not
yesterday,
much
last night. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh shit. It's on like 3 streaming services.
Yeah. Hey, Nightmare Alley. Maybe advertise.
I don't think they have too much control over that.
That's fair. But we wanted to signal boost this little show here.
Yeah.
Called Peacemaker.
This underseen program, Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it felt like something that we probably needed to talk about.
And Peacemaker, from what I noticed in my particular social media bubble, seemed to be a steady build. Like, it didn't start right out of the gate with like a bunch of fans. It like added people each week. Oh,
that's interesting. Yeah, I remember obviously the theme, the opening credits.
The opening credits
got a lot of a lot of coverage, a lot of viral coverage. But yeah, you're right. It got more and more over time.
Mm-hmm.
The show does seem made to like go viral, like just that opening. Which we should probably talk about, because I thought the opening, it's fun and it's like meme and stuff. It also kind of perfectly represented the show. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe that, where it's like it's the fact that they're doing this dumb dance, but they're completely serious.
Yeah.
And that kind of represents everything. Is this stupid fucking dance that they're all doing, and they're all taking extremely seriously. That's what I felt like Peacemaker kind of is.
Yeah, I think
that it's this combination of serious subject, but like, what are we doing? This is silly. It's silly.
And sometimes I think, particularly with James Gunn, who obviously is the writer, director, creator of the show. Sometimes it's just fun to be silly.
Yes, but I do think I think this type of humor right now works in superhero because we've talked about this, I think, when we talked about Suicide Squad, is that it's an absurd world.
Yeah.
And too many, like, Marvel tends to really take it seriously in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's grounded first.
Yeah, and like, yes, there's jokes in Marvel, but they're not absurdist, or rather as absurdist. And I guess and they're certainly not as dark. And I guess what it is that like James Gunn, the thing that I like really like about him in superhero movies is he recognizes that all these elements can create these really surreal moments, such as Harley Quinn swimming in the eye of a giant monster that's being
with all
eaten
these
by rats.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it's that realization of like, you can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
And so why are these movies so boring sometimes?
This is
and this is not boring.
This is the main thing I wanted to come hot out of the gate, just this guns ablaze and swinging my bat. Is Peacemaker and what James Gunn has done with these characters and with the Suicide Squad is the advantage that DC has over Marvel, for sure, right? Like it's
I actually wouldn't credit. So yes, James Gunn, big part of it, but I would say also the Harley Quinn show. So in my mind, someone in DC has a sense of humor.
Well, this
right?
Yeah, let me finish my thought.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is DC is completely 100% willing and game to take risks and do weird things and to not have everything be the same. Right? Like you could never dream of an R-rated show showing up in the MCU.
Right. Well, you could when it was on Netflix, and then then Marvel was like, can't have this.
Yeah, not on Disney Plus.
I shudder to think what they're gonna do with Daredevil on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's just everything that the DC has a freedom that the MCU does not. The MCU has to be uniform and PG-13, and everything has to connect, and it has to all look the same. It's the Target thing, which I've brought up before, where every Target in America is supposed to look and feel the same, and that's kind of the MCU. And there's positives to that as well, but like but there's a lot of negatives. There's a lot of negatives. I think it's more negative. So DC, even though I think most of their stuff isn't that great, but they have that freedom to do these weird shows, like following this like D-list character, E-list, well, all the way down the alphabet. And it's weird, and it's R-rated, and it's
different,
and it's different. Here's the thing. And they do. The last thing I wanted to get out is they'll also do the one-off stuff that's not connected. Like, I did not like Joker, but like they made a one-off Joker movie while they already have like Jared Leto playing him in a different continuity. Like, they are not beholden to making sure everything connects, and there's a freedom in DC that James Gunn really takes advantage of. And I think that's really cool. That's like helps. That's an advantage. It keeps it fresh. It's a fun way to do a superhero story that you don't get from a lot of media right now, because a lot of it is so risk averse and brand conscious.
Right, and that is really a really big problem, and they're really shooting themselves in the foot, because when we think about Batmans, and we think about what we like about Batmans, I at least personally, I've talked about this, is like my favorite Batmans are always the first of a new series. It's this Robert Pattinson thing. It's the first time we saw Affleck Batman. It's the first time we saw Val Kilmer. The first time we saw Christian Bale. And the idea is like, it makes so much more sense to take a property and then give it to people who put their own stamp on it.
Yeah.
And see different interpretations of the same thing, rather than having everything look and feel exactly the same for 20 films. That feels like such a waste.
Yeah.
Because I do think ultimately with Marvel, most of their films are going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
The ones that won't will be the more unique ones.
The ones that, the ones that stand out are more standalone. Yeah, and the ones that have a more unique feel to them.
Yeah, and so like it's funny because the person I remember saying this is Stan Lee. Because people asked Stan Lee, I think when the stupid Fantastic Four movies came out, that was back when Marvel was doing standalone stuff, and they asked him like, do you mind it when people change stuff? And he was like, absolutely not. I think it's fascinating to see something I made, or something that I don't know how much Stan Lee created, but you know what I mean. He said it's fascinating to see something that I've created be interpreted in a new and different way.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of the fun of this stuff.
Well, that's like the beauty and the promise of adapting work, right? Or giving things to new creators, is to see what are they going to do with it, not to see how well they can fit into this box we've already made. Yeah,
exactly. And so it is, I think Eternals is the biggest one that like really boosted that in my mind, because Eternals was one where I looked at it and I was like, this should have been a standalone. They shouldn't have tried to like cram this in the MCU, because it didn't work. It was a bad movie too, but like also it doesn't work. And so like it's like they're building this giant structure, and now it's starting to topple, because there's just too much shit on it. That's again, at least in my opinion. but there's always been the problems with the sameness of it all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Peacemaker definitely stands out for that reason. I will say, I'm a Peacemaker centrist in that people had very strong opinions about this show on both sides. And
yeah, I did see some of that.
Yeah, because people got mad at the ending, the Justice League cameo.
We'll talk about that. Sure.
Yeah. Other people were like so into it. And like where I come down on this first season is that I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was about 8 hours of my time that I really enjoyed. Fun show. Not my favorite. There's some things in it that I was like, my biggest critique, I guess, is that I thought it was weird that the enemy is basically the same as in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Like he just sort of did that again.
You're 100% correct. Yeah. I also really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's hard to, I can't deny that point that it is the same villain as the Suicide Squad,
which we just got finished talking about the originality aspect. It was like, what a weird choice. Like there's a funny moment where they talk about the butterflies at the beginning and they joke of like, is this actually butterflies? Because Project Starfish, it was just a starfish. And then of course the gag is, oh, okay.
Yeah, it is that.
So yeah. Butterfly. Yeah.
I mean, there are differences, and it's told in a different way, but like, so it's not 1-to-1 by any means. It's not what we're saying, but like, it's like based like the bedrock level. It's like it's an alien that takes over people as drones, and it's like kind of sad when it gets defeated.
And it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And there's a kaiju.
That gets defeated by somebody propelling themselves inside it.
Yeah. And so that is weird to me that it was like, well, you could have done, anything else.
Yeah, I that's not a huge mark against it for me. It's weird.
It's not
weird.
A huge mark against it. I wouldn't count anything that I say today as a mark against it. I think it was a good show. I think the people on it, I think they did a lot of really smart things. I guess what I'm saying is like, yeah, the jokes were funny, but I didn't find them hilarious, The plot was good, but I wasn't that emotionally invested. Like and to me, that's still a success.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't need that from Peacemaker. I didn't need, But
it's interesting. That's nobody needed this show. Like nobody asked for this show, but like, and I saw that point being made in a few places by a few people, but like nobody asked for Jaws. You know what I mean? Like nobody asked for Star Wars. Like nobody was out there being like, man, when somebody needs to make the Godfather or something. It's like, no, it's sometimes you just make things because you want to make them and you have a story to tell. So, and I think that this show being made about this character, that's not popular. It was a weird, like when they announced they were doing a spinoff of John Cena's character, it was like, really, that guy, huh? All right. But he sat down and put together a story that was like about things and had fun characters and cool shit in it and just all these weird, crazy ideas in it. So it's, that's where the best things come from, when it's just like,
absolutely,
when you're creating something because you want to make it, not because, we got to get another Batman out there. So,
right. And it seems like the way James Gunn has sort of prevailed in this climate, like in this superhero centric climate, is exactly what you like we were saying, where it's like you take a property that the companies don't care about. Yeah. You take Guardians of the Galaxy.
So they'll let you do what you want.
Yeah. And they're like, sure, man, go nuts.
Yeah.
And then you fucking own it.
Yeah.
And that's what he has been doing.
Yeah. And now he's in the position where he's set himself, where he can do pretty much whatever he wants now.
Yeah.
And it's,
but he's not. But you know what he's sort of attracted to. Yeah. Right. He likes underdogs, but not just underdogs. He likes bad people and finding. I would not necessarily say redemption. But like understanding. Like obviously, he drew some very clear lines in this.
Yeah.
For example, there is a white supremacist in this.
Yes.
Played by Robert Patrick, who never gets redemption.
No,
they don't
just
ever
evil.
make him sympathetic. Yes,
No.
he's just a bad guy.
But
what they do is he happens to be Peacemaker's father.
Yeah,
and he created this situation where like Peacemaker is a shitty dude, right?
Yeah,
like he's an asshole. He's like always on the line, and this is where you learn why that is. You know?
Yeah,
you see the way he's raised, and you're like, oh, he's fucked up. And he's trying to do his best.
And there's another element that James Gunn really likes, and that's like found family.
Yes. Yeah. No, he likes found family, and the fact that your actual family is toxic. And I don't know if that's a personal thing. I'm not going to speculate there.
No.
But like, it's definitely something that he's showing in this, and about the idea of like, we can't help how we're raised. We can't help where we came from, but we can change. You know, we can learn and change and grow. And that's kind of what Peacemaker is doing in this. Is they you know, the idea is it's him dealing with these people who are absolutely calling him out as being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And like the weird racist things he'll say, or like, you know, and that's the idea, is like kind of the wokening of Peacemaker.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, but not much.
There is a path for redemption for him, for sure. And for a few of the characters, actually. There's like, I think some of the best moments in the show, and you know, they're not huge. It's the same thing we talked about with Suicide Squad. It's just basic storytelling stuff, but it's there and it's done well. So there's the best moments are when the team, you know, they first come together and they're sort of thrown together, and none of them like each other. None of them want to be there. They all have different ideas and different personal agendas, and everybody thinks they're going to just kind of, you know, bite their lip and get through this assignment, and then they never have to see each other again. But like, as the show goes on, they start opening up more, and the best moments are when there's a breakthrough moment for pretty much every character.
Right.
And it's done really well. And it's when they sort of let go of what, like, the baggage they had brought with them into this, you know, found family, separate from where they came from, and this kind of like decide to be a team, basically. And that's, you know, that's Guardians, and it's Suicide Squad. It's a theme James Gunn does a lot, particularly in these superhero movies. He really likes ensembles.
I would say that, James Gunn, there's a lot of themes throughout James Gunn. There's always it's always going to be a little bit of a monster movie.
Yeah.
It's always going to be dealing with people who need redemption like this. There is definitely a pattern here, and I would say there is a risk of James Gunn being something that gets copied and copied and copied.
Yeah.
Until we think of James Gunn's style as like Judd Apatow, you know, or I guess people were comparing him to
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon, which he's not
There's
at all the same.
There's similarities, but they are very, very different in their approach and their tone. Yeah.
There's similarities in that it is very much the pattern of like, oh, we're superheroes and we're joking around, you know, like we'll say like kind of self-aware stuff. That definitely James Gunn joke writing style. There's a pattern.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of characters are on a mission. One of them says something. They take you down this verbal labyrinth where it's like this person says something that starts like a weird thread where they start arguing something, you know, petty or trivial. Like someone calls somebody something else and they're like, that's not the right word for it. And then they start arguing that. And then someone has to go, hey guys, what are we doing? We got to focus, you know, like there is very much a pattern to a lot of the gags. I think what makes them work for me personally is he has great people deliver them. And like I said, I'm not blown away by it, but it's entertaining enough.
Yeah.
You know, John Cena, we haven't even talked about, is absolutely killing it.
I was going to say, that's like the other thing James Gunn has really done is given us wrestlers who are much better performers than we may have thought.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Wrestlers who it's like holy shit.
Like Batista was not the greatest wrestler and was a subpar actor, and then he got Guardians, and like he's great now.
Yeah, wrestlers who seem to understand comedy more than you ever thought they would.
Yeah. And the same thing with John Cena, where it's like John Cena's like, he's fine as a wrestler, and like the movies he'd done before this are very, it's like whatever. But he's really, you kind of saw something in the Suicide Squad where like, oh, he could be a really effective like villain in these movies. And then in Peacemaker, you get like a full leading actor performance where he has to be funny and he's doing these weird stuff and he's really great at comedic timing. And then he also has really uncomfortable emotional scenes, like a lot of the stuff with him and his dad. It's just, he has to do a lot in this show and he's pretty good at it, honestly.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's pretty great in this show.
Because the other theme of this show is definitely the idea of professional murderers as just completely fucked up
They're
divas.
all dipshits, yeah.
Yeah. Or they're all dipshits and sociopaths.
Yeah.
Vigilante is fantastic.
He's my favorite character.
Yeah. He's very Deadpool. It might just because his voice sounds very similar.
To a degree, he's not
the same character. He's like in that same guy with a mask saying funny things in that voice that in like a voice that you don't really expect.
It's just a very boring white guy voice. It's just very there's nothing remarkable about it. I think that's what is endlessly hilarious about him talking.
And his character really shines the moment the mask comes off.
Yeah.
And then you see that it's like, he's just some little twerp.
He's just some guy.
The idea is just that he's a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Peacemaker, he's completely content.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is about, that's the other thing. This is about Peacemaker's journey, specifically him being haunted by killing what's his face in Suicide Squad.
Flag, Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah. And it's about that idea that he's starting to question the concept of I'm going to kill, every man, woman, and child that gets in my way for peace. Him starting to realize that he is the bad guy. He's not the good guy he thought he was.
It seems one of my favorite things about Peacemaker, like he plays the character so perfectly in the Suicide Squad, as this sort of one note. But then, of course, it gets expanded into an actual three-dimensional person in the show. It seems like absurd, right? Like the gag is that he says, I love peace with all my heart. I cherish peace with all my heart. I'll kill any man, woman, and child to get it. Like that seems absurd, but that's the exact mentality of nuking Japan. Like it's we killed thousands to save millions. Yeah, it is the mantra of war.
Right.
And so it is absurd, but like it's also a very, very real thing that lots of people are conditioned to think exactly the same way he does.
Right. It's the idea that whenever we invade an area, it's to help them.
Yeah, we're peacekeeping force.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know what he was as a comic book character. I assume it wasn't this.
He's had a lot of iterations, like from Golden Age stuff where he's just like a dude zooming around in a jetpack. So that's like kind of like a little Easter egg in the first episode when he keeps asking for a jetpack.
Okay.
I believe the first iteration of his character had one.
I assume that this was like a
Silver
new
Age, I'm sorry, not
development
Golden
on him. Because I had seen old pictures of him, which again is the key. Is like you take these superhero that people don't give a fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that with this and Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad seems almost built for that.
Yeah. That's like the point. Yeah, it's all these low tier villains that nobody cares about. They're literally expendable. Yeah.
Right. And that's the same here. Is like he is low tier. He has to deal with that. He has to deal with the fact that he's fundamentally a bad person. And so like his victory, and this is actually why I do think this was a good idea. I get, again, people were criticizing it, but at the end, they save the day and walk past the Justice League, and he's like, you're too late. And that's kind of the completion of his arc, is like he actually gets to do something heroic. Or
sort of.
Even
he's
sort of
deeply conflicted about it.
Yeah, but his reasoning does make sense, where he's like, they would have killed you guys. And it was like, yeah, that is true. Like, like it's a weird, it's definitely one of those weird things we've been playing with. It's just the concept of eco-fascism, which I do think is a weirdly important thing for us to think about. Only because, to quote Cody, like Cody has said, like there's going to be a point where the right is going to accept climate change and their solution will be horrifying. And like that is kind of the thing is like it's like this problem that we're faced with that could
we keep kicking the can
terrifyingly solved.
We keep kicking the can down the road until the only solution is going to be what the butterfly alien solution is, which is to like mind control half the planet and like enslave humanity into saving Earth.
Right, exactly. And so it is a something to think about, I guess. I don't know the answer here, but like that is,
and it's also
something we've been. Yeah, superhero films specifically, for some reason, have been talking about. I don't know if it's for the right reasons or not.
It's also interesting that was the climax where he's Peacemaker comes from, like his whole mantra is, I will kill anything for peace. I don't, the body count is irrelevant because peace is the ultimate goal. But the completion of his arc is that he is sort of forced, or he does not force, he chooses to stop thinking about it in the abstract, you know what I mean? Like instead of just numbers, he's putting actual faces to the people that will have to die in order to achieve this quote unquote peace, which are all of his friends, all of his new family.
Exactly. It's the ends justifying the means, where like he thought of it that way for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Rorschach's arc from Watchmen. Where like,
you're right.
At first he's like, it doesn't matter, but then in the end he ends up being like, no, it's like every life matters. We can't just kill all these people for the sake of the whole planet and pretend that we didn't kill all these people. Like that's wrong. And that's kind of where Peacemaker that's what he decides. He's like, well, I don't necessarily disagree with the idea of like, we're going to have to break several 100,000 million whatever eggs in order to save Earth, but like, you don't get who empowered you to make that choice. Like you don't get to decide that all of these people die so that the world can be saved.
Similar in Black Panther as well.
Yeah.
And it is actually, I think, a bad habit of superhero stuff that now that we're talking about it spans both DC and Marvel, which is that they're still kind of straw manning it.
Yeah.
Which is like that obvious thing of like Thanos, you could create more resources, where they make it so that it's like, they have to make this bold statement of like, not like this. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you kind of didn't have to do it like that. You just created villains that did it that way. And then, of course, the problem always is they say the villain, they did have a point. And then they never like address that down the line. They just kill the villain, say they had a good point. And then like in the case of Black Panther, they just are like, we're going to create rec centers.
Yeah.
And then like you never hear anything about it again. And it's like, okay, so I guess you didn't actually care. Like,
we'll see what happens with this storyline. But like, I see what you're saying. And also I feel like sometimes, where this show landed anyway, is that sometimes there isn't an answer, right? Like Peacemaker, he kills the alien, but he's like weeping as he does it. And then he's like, and then it's not like there's this sort of bittersweet ending where people's lives have sort of moved on and they're in different places. It's not clear if that was the right choice. And sometimes I don't necessarily need them to come down and be like definitive one way or the other. Sometimes things are complicated and there isn't an easy answer.
Oh, for sure. But when it comes to like the message, like season 2 of this,
no idea what that's going to be.
Well, after what happened here, shouldn't it be Peacemaker being extremely concerned about the planet?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be what would happen? Is you go, these aliens knew our planet is dying. We need to do something about this. Like that would be what would have to happen. Well, because he killed these aliens, and he's basically said like, no, not like this. And it's like, well, then do something.
Yeah, there's also an additional wrinkle to the aliens where they were like hiding out on this planet, right? So they were quote unquote saving humanity, but they were really saving themselves. So, and we don't know for a fact that the world's going to end. They just decided it was. So the show also ends with like Peacemaker, like everybody kind of has more or less a happy ending except for him. Like the show ends on a real kind of grim mark where he's back at home in his trailer and he's got the last alien, Goff, I think was its name. He's still alive. And he kind of pours out the last of the creature's food that he had. They destroyed this giant kaiju alien that produces the only food that these little butterfly aliens can eat. So there's no more food left except what Peacemaker had in this jar, and he dumps the rest of it out for Goff to sit there and eat next to him on the porch while he's having a beer. And the ghost of his dead father, Robert Patrick, is also sitting next to him. So he's literally realizing that he is going to be haunted by these two decisions that he made for the rest of his life.
Right. Well, just like he was haunted by...
Just like he was haunted by Flag. So he's not actually... It ends by the show essentially yelling into our face that he has not actually found any peace. All he wants is to have peace, because he's this tormented dude who we find out he killed his brother by accident. He has this complicated relationship with his dad that ends with him finally killing his dad because his dad is an evil man.
Which I would argue they spoiled that in the opening credits. Like I don't know about you. In the first time I saw the opening credits, I thought, oh, he's going to kill his dad because he shoots at the camera and they cut to Robert Patrick.
Oh,
and it was like, oh, I thought they were screaming that at us.
Oh, I think that was just a way to cut to a different setup for the dance.
I don't know, man. Him firing the gun and
that's true. I never thought
Robert
about that.
Patrick.
That's true.
Yeah, I thought they were really telling us there, and that is what happens. Luckily for Robert Patrick, at least, it seems like he'll be around.
He's a ghost.
In season
he's
2.
He's just going to keep haunting Peacemaker
as
the same
a
way.
Racist ghost.
Same way he's haunted by Flag. So now he's going to be haunted by he killed two people that he cared about. Like he cared about his dad ultimately, because it's another thing I think the show dealt with well, is getting into a little bit of the idea behind like trauma and abusive relationships, especially when it's like your parents. Right. It's like there's
because he was made to kill his brother by his dad.
And it's like,
but it's still his dad.
It's still his dad.
That's the weird thing. Yeah.
I've known people who've had this extremely difficult relationship with their parents, where it's like no matter what they do, you can't completely cut them out of your life because you're like, well, they're my parents. I can't.
Right. I've also met people with the opposite, where it's like, if you weren't raised by that person, it's like, fuck, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Like it can go both ways. But in this case, he was raised by this man.
Yeah.
And that is his problem.
Yeah.
And it also ties him to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I feel like more superheroes should be constantly haunted.
Honestly, yeah, that's one of the best things in the MCU was the first part of Civil War.
Right. Or I was going to say Shane Black's Iron Man, because he's much like James Gunn, like they should have made had Shane Black do more Marvel stuff, in my opinion, for this reason. He immediately looked at Iron Man and was like, well, he has PTSD, right?
Like two kinds.
Yeah.
For living and being tortured in a cave for months, and then also going to the edge of space and an alien invasion.
It's the shit that like I get that it's like there's this I'm even getting sick of the meta superhero stuff. Does that make sense? Where like stuff like The Boys, I love The Boys, but it's like you can only point out so many times that these characters are fascists. And you slowly,
The Boys is doing interesting things with that, though, I think. But I see what you're saying. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Where it's like superheroes to me have gotten so kind of boring that even the meta commentary is boring. Mm-hmm. That said, I don't consider it meta commentary to note these characters are fucked up.
Yeah,
that's the kind of the problem most of the time, is that they don't do that. They don't, like watching Hawkeye. You know what was one of the coolest things they did in Hawkeye? Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. This isn't a spoiler. Jeremy Renner can't hear in it.
Yeah, I know.
He has hearing aids. Yeah. And it was like, of course he would.
Yeah.
They would all have hearing aids.
Yeah.
And it's
all
that
the people
stuff where
who
it's
aren't
like,
metahumans. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, if you want me to actually care about these worlds, you have to think about the logistics of what it actually would mean to be these people. Otherwise, they're just saying catchphrases. And it's that thing where it's like, it has to inform them. Like Captain America doesn't care that he's out of time until they need him to be. You know what I mean? where it's like I enjoyed Endgame and Infinity Wars, but like they only introduce it again in Endgame. Like, by the way, he's missing his loved ones from the fucking 40s, but they don't mention it throughout the series because they're like, well, it didn't serve our plot yet.
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to think about these characters as human beings, and you can sort of tell when they don't because they don't consider that stuff until it comes in handy. Whereas like this, it's like it feels like it's character first.
Yeah,
it feels
only 100% to the point where like I think only 2 of the characters are actual comic book superheroes or supervillains. Right. Peacemaker and Vigilante. And Judo Master is running around in there too.
Right.
So but there's really only 3. It's a big ensemble cast of something like 10 characters, but only 3 of them are actually superheroes from the comic books.
Right, and the superheroes are treated like humans.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. There's these moments like like in Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn killing that guy.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
She's like, I'm sorry, that killing kids the red flag.
Yeah, and the justification, it's like, yeah, she would do that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, probably.
Like that is a really good and so like that's really it's the people who are doing the best job with superheroes, who I would say is Taika and Shane Black in his one movie,
yep,
and James Gunn. They tend to have the same thing in common, which is that they're thinking about what it would actually mean to be these people, as opposed to just like how cool it is.
Yeah.
Like the way Thor is treated is the same. He's lost fucking everybody. Which they do actually, to their credit, in Endgame too. But it's like I don't know. It's that's the stuff that's really important, and that's why I think the show does really well.
Yeah.
Is like Peacemaker throughout. He's like fucking crying himself to sleep in this. Because he's living in this bubble that he knows he's in, and that he knows he's not a good guy, and he wants things to be different.
Yeah, and it's one of the best moments for me, and it's simultaneously funny and also like really heartbreaking. Is I think it's early. It's when he is sitting in his trailer and is just weeping because he knows everybody hates him, and he knows he's a piece of shit, and that like he's got no hope for being a better person. He's just crying about it, and it's so uncomfortable, and it goes back and forth between being funny because it's Cena, and he's like blubbering like, you're a stupid asshole and everybody hates you, but like it's also profoundly sad. Yeah,
and Vigilante catching him doing his face exercises. That's the other element to his character, is he's like a child, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like an 8-year-old kid almost all the time. Mm-hmm. And it works. Like it kind of reminded me, because it's like the obsession with metal. It reminded me of The Wrestler, where it's like, oh yeah, the days, the glory days. Yeah, the glory days are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get past it.
Yeah.
And yeah, these are all like really, really important details. That James Gunn, again, is really good at mixing that stuff to make them narratively useful while also just making them fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. It's not easy to do. Like he's not doing, it's interesting because he's not doing like anything incredible, but the tone is, it's not easy to achieve. And he does it really well.
Yeah. He's very good at it. Yeah, I am excited. I'm always excited for something that he does that isn't comic books, because I'm excited for that stuff too. And I do think Gunn is gonna just have to, with his humor, evolve.
Yeah,
I do think he's gonna have to keep up a little bit.
Of course, yeah, and that's always an issue.
Yeah, because his stuff is so strong that it's definitely gonna get a lot of copycats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna get a lot of fucking haters, and even to the point of like, he did the same villain in both.
Yeah, for
sure. It's like I do want to see a little more different stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and that will be
also.
Go, you finish it up.
I was just gonna say also, who the fuck am I? Like, I kind of also feel that, which is like, this is part of why I didn't really want to talk about this show. Is like I had a lot of fun. Like ultimately, it's like, good job. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I was going to say that really the only ding I can put against it, like the only thing that kind of stuck out to me was some of the dialogue felt first drafty. Like there's a lot of instances of characters just saying "fuck" when they're like surprised or pissed or exasperated. So it just a lot of the dialogue that wasn't the elaborate back and forth joke sequences kind of felt a little first drafty.
Yeah, and like I said, I do think there's sort of a pattern to the jokes that you can pick up on.
For sure.
You kind of, it starts getting predictable in that it's like, oh, it's going to be this thing or this silly thing. That said, he's really good at setting it all up, so it's really fun to watch it all go. You know, the human torpedo stuff.
Yeah, that was really funny payoff.
Yeah, but even that, he still manages to surprise me because I knew the torpedo was going to come up. I didn't know that's how he was going to kill the villain by risking her life by torpedoing her. Like, it was like, that is too fucking funny.
It was really, really funny, yeah. And also, the predictable template of like the team getting into an argument, it does, help the narrative purpose of, oh, they're becoming a family because they're starting to argue over stupid shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
But it's very much, there's very much I want to see him kind of do something drastically different next, because Suicide Squad was the same. They're all arguing and they all become a family, and it's all kind of the same beats. So I just am curious to see, like, Slither 2, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
Super 2. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, just
Super's
give me
a wild movie.
Yeah. But yeah, this is exactly what I needed from it.
I will give that to DC, and then obviously it's a James Gunn project. It would not exist without him.
DC was the moment when I remember, like, Marvel fired James Gunn, and DC was like, we'll grab right over here, buddy.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. That was the smartest thing they did. That, and just the Harley Quinn show, where they clearly are like willing to embrace the adult and the humor side more than Marvel. And that is...
Go ahead.
Oh, that is just... It does give them...
It gives them an edge, yeah.
It gives them an edge, and I can see a future where we're back praising DC, where we're all about DC.
There's so much freedom in, like, doing a movie like Peacemaker or Suicide Squad, or and even Joker. Like, even though I don't like that movie, it is remarkable that they would just make such a bold, one-shot, weird alternate universe Joker movie in the middle of this, like, extended universe they're trying to set up to compete with Marvel. Yeah. Like, and they'll do these weird one-offs and take these weird chances, and that's, I can, like you said, I could see a future where they keep doing that and it starts being really cool.
Well, also, like, look at DC's history.
They've kind of always done that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think Marvel they did a lot of great things, but they've kind of designed themselves to burn out a lot quicker. And they're going to have to, like, reassess some stuff, I think. And DC has always been chugging along at this very stable rate, doing this one thing, which is simply taking their properties, giving them to talented artists, your Richard Donners, your Tim Burtons, and saying, do what you want, create a world. And then when they're done, when they're like, okay, we told that story, let's get a new person.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's tell a trilogy about Batman where at the end he's done.
It is.
And then fucking let's just stop and make a new Batman series after that. It's really about the fact that they're telling complete stories and then moving on. And where Marvel is like, the story's never going to end. And it's like, it really needs to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're done. You're done. Do something else.
Yeah. Evolve. I don't know.
Evolve. Yeah. No, it's that. It's also probably Disney, where it's like with Star Wars and stuff, where it's like
doing the same thing with Star Wars. Yeah, it's Disney.
Yeah. You need to end the MCU and then think about what you're going to do next. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like, and DC sort of just, they always do it. Is so far right now, is Nolan's Batman like the last superhero thing that ended?
I think it might be the only one that ended on its own terms.
On its own terms.
Ended by telling a complete story. Although you could argue Raimi's Spider-Man kind of tells a complete story.
Yeah, I think Raimi's Spider-Man was supposed to, and I think I don't know. And then I guess with Superman, it was like it didn't matter. They just kept tacking on sequels.
Yeah, they just made
that no one gave a shit about.
Yeah, Superman became Batman, right? Like they had two movies that were sort of related, and then the next two just didn't really have much to do with each other.
Yeah,
and weren't really continuing or completing any storyline. I think Raimi's Spider-Man and Nolan's Batman, I think, are the only ones that. Well, I was about to say the original X-Men movies, but that's not fucking true at all. Because they Days of Future Past made it all one continuity, and now it's a big old MCU mess. So yeah,
yep,
it's rare. It's rare. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's a big problem that they don't end. That it kind of that's the stuff where it's like it feels like that's what makes a classic, right? Seeing The Ring go into Mount Doom, I guess seeing fucking Voldemort explode, like these are the moments that we're all waiting for. The Thing ending, the story being completed, and I don't know. This is a different conversation. It's just weird to me that superhero films seem to have trouble with that concept, even though they seem built to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird to me. Like, you have a bad guy, you defeat the bad guy. Like, you can do that in 3 films and make it make sense, like, matter. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a
That's
shit?
the other thing. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't know. I really, this was fun.
Yeah.
There's metal music.
Yeah,
Steve Agee was there.
Steve Agee was like a major character, and he had one of my favorite emotional moments in the series where he's pretending to be an alien, and they stop him, and he has to, as he's pretending to be an alien, because they just sort of dispassionately recite whatever they are finding in their host body's brain, he has to just kind of talk about himself and all of his insecurities, and it's this very painful moment for him, and the whole team is listening. It's a really good moment, and it's fucking Steve Agee.
Yeah.
So I think the show is good. It's good. It works. It was fun.
It's good.
It has emotional beats. It remembers to make you give a shit about its characters. The comedy is woven into the story, so it never feels out of place. Good show.
Yeah, as long as nobody uses like a war to promote it on Twitter. No notes. No notes.
Cena's bad at that.
Yeah, no, not great. Not great, Cena.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Someone should have told you that.
Although Cena is one of like 2 wrestlers that didn't go wrestle in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He was like, no, thanks.
He's trying. He's trying. Yeah. Was Dead Man on Campus in this?
He was, yeah. I couldn't remember his name from Dead Man on Campus. Lachlan Monroe is the actor's name, but he is the dude that actually stops Steve Agee and is like, "What's up with your host's beard? Why does it look like that?"
It's weird seeing him in things. He's one of those people that's like, I can't see you not as like a teenager,
right? Not as the crazy dude from Dead Man. I wish I could remember his name from Dead Man on Campus, but yeah, he's been showing up and stuff since then. But it's always
he
like
is in stuff, but yeah, it's always like a little what's the word?
Jarring. Yeah,
jarring is the word.
Same. I always see him and think of fucking Dead Man on Campus.
Yeah.
A movie no one talks about.
No one talks about I remember that movie being fucking wild.
It's fucking
Zach.
great.
Zach. When the moment Zach shows up in that, I was like, now we got a fucking movie. This is fucking wild.
Yep. Incredible film.
Incredible film. I think
about trying to pressure your roommate into killing himself.
Yeah, I remember it came out the same year as The Curve, which was like the dark, serious version,
which was
of
the
it.
Thriller version of it. Yeah,
yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, starring Matthew Lillard.
Good stuff. We should watch those.
We could do that. We should definitely watch The Curve.
Yeah, we should definitely watch.
The Curve. You guys are hearing us plan a movie night in real time.
Mm-hmm. Listen to the magic happen in real time.
I don't have anything else to say about Peacemaker. It's good.
No, Peacemaker. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah,
it was good.
Enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it and more of what James Gunn does, not just in the DC playpen, but with like any other idea. I like James Gunn.
Unfortunately, right now he's tied up in superheroes for a while.
Yeah, he's got Guardians he's working on. Yeah.
Do you want to know what the last non-superhero thing he ever did was?
That he directed? I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm pretty sure it was Super, but unless you want to count that as being superhero.
It was movie 43.
Oh, right. He did a segment in that.
Yeah.
That they didn't even put in the movie. They run it over the end credits.
Yeah. So James Gunn, I just want you to think, you're definitely listening. Think about that. You know? Maybe do movie 44 next.
We've been waiting for it, honestly.
Yeah,
I know Adam Todd Brown will be very happy to have movie 44 come out. Dennis Quaid has only gotten more unhinged, so he can play the same character.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Nope.
Oh. All right, yeah. Fun show. Good job.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you're interested, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. For just $5 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Those are all available. $5 a month. For $10 a month, we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night, such as The Curve, I guess.
Yeah, we're probably going to watch that.
Yeah, we'll probably watch The Curve, I guess.
It's probably going to happen, and you could watch it with us. We also have a store. Head over to GameFanEmployee.com, where you'll find a link to our Teespring store, where you can check out all kinds of cool original artwork that you can get on T-shirts, stickers, mugs, posters, all kinds of stuff. So check that out. And leave us a review.
Leave us a review.
We read them. We really do.
Yeah, I read them in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
I burn through phones, but
it's important.
I go in the shower.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's the price we pay
for greatness.
For greatness, art. This isn't art. It's the price we pay for our network.
Yes, it's the burning through phones. Just my drain is covered in phones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, normally people are fishing hair out of the drains. Dave is fishing old phones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a razor down there. The Nokia, not the personal grooming tool.
Razor, yeah. I guess that's
actually it wasn't a Nokia. It was I forget. Listen.
Doesn't matter.
This spiraled out of control.